the Ifa Priest podcast. My name is Araba Olawole Olakunle. I'm your host, and on the Ifa Priest podcast, we look at the stereotypes that is attached to Ifa and Orishas system, and we try to bring the intersecting knowledge that removes these stereotypes and give people the information that will allow them have a vivid understanding about Ifa and Orishas, and how it relates with their immediate environment. We've had series of the podcast in the audio format, and we are now having a podcast in an audiovisual setting. And on this episode, we have with us a most notable person in person of Dr. Fayemi Fakayode, who is the President General of the International Council of Ifa Religion, who is here with me on the show. And we are going to be having a broad conversation that's relating with Ifa and the community at large. And there are so many questions that a lot of young people want to ask Baba. And for the sake of the fact that he's my Oga, I need to switch to Yoruba, and I'll do a lot of switching to see that the podcast actually help people who might not be able to understand Yoruba language to understand what we are saying, and at the same time give Yoruba listeners the opportunity to see that we are indigenous in our tenets. So, Baba káàbọ̀ sí orí ètò.
Ẹ kú ètò.
Ẹ bá wa àòdú ní ẹ kì í ṣe àìmọ̀fólókò. Mo ti ṣe research nípa yín dáadáa. Inú mi dùn torí pé mo rántí pé ńgbà tí ẹ di president, mo message yín, and after that time that wá rí yín náà, ẹ ṣe wá lálejò, ẹ kẹwàá ẹ gẹ̀wá, Ọlọ́run á máa túbọ̀ máa kẹ́ yín, Ọlọ́run á túbọ̀ máa gẹ̀ yín. Ṣe rí podcast yìí, bóyá kí n kọ́kọ́ ṣàlàyé ìdí tí mo ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ podcast yìí so that ẹ lè understand tí ó wà lọ́kàn mi gangan. Níta ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ podcast yìí ni pé èmi, ẹ mọ ìtàn mi, bí mo ṣe wá sínú ìṣẹ̀ṣe àti mo ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìrìn àjò mi. And mo wá rí wípé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ irọ́ tí ẹ̀mọ̀ pé àwọn èèyàn àgbà náà sọ pé tá a bá parọ́ lọ́jọ́ tó pẹ́, irọ́ á máa fẹ́ dòótọ́, á máa fẹ́ dàbí òótọ́ á fẹ́ máa jọ bí irọ́. Onírúurú irọ́ láti pa fún mi látara wípé mi ò ní choice, wọ́n bí mi sínú ìdílé Kristẹni ni. Nílé Kristẹni tó dẹ̀ bí mi sí yẹn, Jesus is Lord dẹ̀ ni, any other person ṣe Lord mọ́. Fún ìdí èyí mi ò ní choice láti sọ pé òkè mo fẹ́ ní ọ̀fọ̀ láti gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tó ti sọ fún mi náà ni mo ní láti gbàgbọ́. Àwọn stereotype yẹn, àwa rí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọ̀dọ́ bíi tèmi náà ló wà nínú ipò tí mo wà. Láṣẹ wá ṣe podcast sílẹ̀ pé òkè àwọn nǹkan tó fẹ́ jọ bí irọ́, àwọn ọ̀nà táwọn èèyàn ń rí, ẹlẹ́bọ olóògùn ni wá, olóògùn owó ni wá, ń pààyàn, à ń ṣe kankan ojú ẹ̀. A ní láti correct irọ́ yìí. Irọ́ ni, bọ̀ ti pẹ́, irọ́ tó ti pẹ́ ńlẹ̀ ni, tó ti wá jọ òótọ́, tí ó wá jẹ́ pé ẹni tó lóòótọ́ lọ́wọ́ gan wá dàbí òpùrọ́.
Thank you so much. As you have said, I'm Dr. Fayemi Fatunde Fakayode, the Ààrẹ Agbéfága of Yoruba land, Jagunmolu Awo Agbaye, and the President, International Council for Ifa Religion. I'm also the founder of Olodumare's Temple of Light International, Ìjọ Ìmọ́lẹ̀ Olódùmarè Àgbáyé in Ibadan here.
We a rí iṣẹ́ takuntakun tẹ́ ń ṣe ní community, but Jagunmolu Awo Agbaye International, how do you share these responsibilities? Because as a young person, I am so busy that I personally am trying to make everything possible to see that my life is better organized for my family, because Babalawo gan, you are a very busy person. Talk less of paying to how do you tend to do things together like that?
Thank you so much. No, you are right. The question you are asking, at times many people do ask such questions. Even in an organization, when you have a very standard organization, people will do something like when you are vying for a position there, they want to know much about you. And if you are holding position in another organization, in some organizations, the best thing is for you to resign so that you'll be able to face the responsibilities. But as we are saying it as the president of the International Council for Ifa Religion, the other things that we talk about, they are not like position in the organization. Being the Ariagbefaga of Yoruba land, that chieftaincy title was given to me in 2010 by the then Oluwo Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́, Baba Oluwo Fatoki Akangbe, kí aworere kó jẹ nímọ̀ rere. Because the Oluwo Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́ then and his council of chiefs, they studied the situation in Yoruba land, and they realized that among the people who are trying to promote the tradition and cultural practices, especially Ifa in Yoruba land, that I'm one of them. And that was why the title was given to me then. And as the Jagunmolu Awo Agbaye, it is the Araba Agbaye, His Eminence Awo Dotun Aworeni Makoranwale II, and is the Olodumerindilogun, that they look at the roles that people are playing in the Ifa community. And they said, this so person will be fit to be in this position because of the way he has been fighting and propagating the way of Orisha. And as the founder of the Ijo Imole Olodumare Agbaye, that is a temple. And the temple is situated in Alade town of Ibadan, and that is my hometown in Ibadan. When we realized that before we were born, according to the history of our town, there were many shrines and temples of Orisha. And I can say when I was in primary school, I met some of the shrines like the shrine of Alaja and the temple of Shango. But before the late 80s, all the shrines and temples, they disappear. And we realized that is one of the problems of Yoruba traditional religion, because when people don't have a place to come in together with the people that they share the same religious interest, there will be problem. Because if I say I'm a traditionalist and my children, they don't have a place where they go to associate with the
themselves,
children of other people who are into this tradition, they will be following their friends to their churches and mosques whenever they have programs. And we realize that another problem is that when you say, I'm a Babalawo, we have to have the Babalawos, they have a way of coming together every week, which is every 4 days, because 4 days make a week in Yoruba land. And when we realize that if you say I'm a Babalawo, we worship every week, the Shango people, they have their own way of doing things, that is another problem. We have to come together, do things together, so that we have a common say. Because that is why when people are referring to Yoruba traditional religion,
when you refer to us together, there's a point that we need to address. Together is lacking in our community.
Yes.
Babalawo ni mi, eri lebe. And it's one of those things that we must address. Factions here, yes, factions there, this, that. And it gives us two parts. There is Babalawo to differ as a profession. There is Babalawo to ṣe ẹ̀sìn Ifa. There are two distinct.
Okay.
There are two distinct. There are two distinct personalities. For instance, Babalawo tó ń differ as a profession ni mí. Babalawo tó ń ṣe ẹ̀sìn tó ń lọ sí ìjọ Ọ̀rúnmìlà àpapọ̀ odù ni mí. Ìjọ tàwa nìyẹn. Ìjọ tiyín ọ̀tọ̀. ẹ̀yin ní religion, so ẹ̀yin náà sí babaláwo as profession and as religion. However, there are so many babalawos. Ní ọdún kan mo kọ́fà lọ́wọ́ Agbọ́ngbọ̀n Ìlúpéjú. Bàbá ìyàwó bàbá ní head choir mister ní head chorister ní ìjọ MFM tó wà níwájú àdúgbò wọn. Máa wá lọ rúbọ lé bàbá. Èmi ò tí ì lé tẹ̀ ń gbà yẹn, so ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá máa lọ rúbọ, máa pín tí máa dí tí mo fẹ́ ṣe fún màá lọ àjọ máa pín owó ẹbọ, a máa pín gbogbo ẹni. Èmi dẹ̀ like máa rúbọ dáadáa. Wọ́n wá dọ́dọ̀ bàbá, wá pè ìwọ ọmọ wa, ẹbọ rẹ ti ń pọ̀ jù. Ẹbọ ó ti ń rúbọ tó ń pọ̀ jù pé because bàbá ti gbé ilé fún tenant. Majority àwọn tenant bàbá gbélé fún Christian and Muslim ni wọ́n. Adẹ̀ rúbọ iye iṣu bàbá kẹ̀dẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹ̀ǹkùlé ló wà. Ẹ̀ǹkùlé tó lẹ́wà yẹn bàbá tún lọ kọ́lé tenant sí ẹ̀ǹkùlé. Tá ti ń rú ẹbọ bíi 15-16 níwájú èṣù. Tí àwọn tenant bá ti jí láàárọ̀ tó bá ti jí wọ́n á lọ complain, so tenant ti ń complain, babaláwo ló kọ́lé. Tenant tó lẹ́sìn sílé wọ́n ń ṣe the annoying part ni pé wọ́n ń ṣe ẹ̀sìn, wọ́n ń ṣe Bible study. Nìkan náà àwọn tenant bàbá yẹn ṣe Bible study nínú ilé yẹn. Àwọn tó máa ń ṣe Bible study pé àwọn ọ̀fẹ́ ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù àwọn tí ìlú láti ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù tó máa ń ṣe fellowship kékeré wọ́n ń ṣe nínú ilé. Àwọn tó wá ń ṣe fellowship yẹn ló wá complain pé ẹbọ ti ń pọ̀ jù nílé babaláwo. Wọ́n mọ̀ ọ̀kan tó gbalẹ̀ pé ilé babaláwo lọ́wọ́ gbà o. Wọ́n wá ń complain pé ẹbọ ti pọ̀ jù. Baba had to tell us to stop. Lè máa rúbọ ìmọ̀ nítorí pé àwọn tenant ń complain. And it became a shock to me. And this is the Agbọ́ngbọ̀n, àmọ̀ pé Agbọ́ngbọ̀n ọba lè fa ni, this is Agbọ́ngbọ̀n of the whole Ìlúpéjú community. If the Agbọ́ngbọ̀n of a whole community bá lè sọ pé ẹbọ pọ̀, kò ti. So what are we doing? What's happening in our community tó jẹ́ pé babaláwo kan máa sọ pé òun o ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì lòun ń lọ o, babaláwo lòun. Òun o mọ́ṣáláṣí lòun ń lọ, babaláwo lòun. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀?
Now, as I was saying, let me complete that one before I go to the next thing, the one, what you asked. Then we said when we realized that we have to come together and there is no way to have the Shango temple Ogun shrine again, then we now constructed a temple. Then we realized, we make it, we make sure that all the practitioners of Orisha in our community, like Shango devotees, Ogun and Ifa, that we come together to worship. And in that place, we have all the Orishas there. If you are a Shango devotee, there is room for you to worship. And on the day of Shango, the worship day of Shango, we worship Shango together. On the worship day of Oshun, we worship Oshun together. That is why we have that temple. And that has nothing to do with the position as the president of the International Council for Ifa Religion. As that position, that is the organization which I was elected to, about some babalawos who don't see Ifa as religion. That is the problem. And that is why you realize that when you can see somebody who is a Shango devotee and you realize that all the children are either Muslims and Christians, that one, the first thing we can say about that is that it has to do with the issue of colonization and introduction of this Western education and these alien religions. What they did then, these people that brought Christianity and Islam, they were very smart. They didn't bring Islam and Christianity as something that they have to impose on those people then. It's like, though when we are talking about Islam, you can see something that is violent. We can say that the Muslims, that they force people physically to accept Islam. But Christians at times, they use psychological warfare. When they brought Islam and Christianity then, especially the Muslims, what they did was this. They were telling our people, when they realized that it was difficult for them to convert the people to Islam and Christianity, now they came out with another option, saying, Baba, you can continue worshiping your Ifa. Ẹ máa ṣe Ifá yín lọ. Christianity kò dí Ifá lọ́wọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ káwọn ọmọ yín kán máa wá. And whenever they are celebrating anything, maybe like Ikore or what do they call it, they will just be going from one house to the other. Today is Galilee. We are going to Galilee. Baba, onífá ẹ jẹ́ ká máa yín tẹ̀lé wa lọ. Wọ́n á jẹ rice ní church. Wọ́n á ṣe kìíní. Then when they go there, they give them gift. And that was where the problem started. You realize that when you see an Ifa priest, the wife will be going to church. And at times, another problem because Ifa was not available, to everybody like the way the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran was available to everybody. When you see a Babalawo, if the children don't learn Ifa, it will be difficult for them to defend themselves when Muslims and Christians are preaching to them.
Sorry to cut in.